This cricket coaching clinic is based on the book Cricket Skills by Frank Tyson and John Harris, and is designed to explain and demonstrate why, how and when the basic skills of cricket are performed. It will add a new dimension to your understanding and enjoyment of a game which should be fun. Batting, bowling, wicket-keeping and fielding are taught in simple terms and are demonstrated and talked about by some of the world's leading players. Clive Lloyd, Gordon Greenwich, Jeff Dujon of the West Indies, Kepler Wessels, Jeff Lawson, Bob Holland of Australia, John Embry of England, and Jeff Howarth of New Zealand. There are no better players to watch, listen to, and learn from.
Clive Lloyd first played for the West Indies in 1966, becoming captain of his national side in 1974. In all, he played in 110 test matches, and during that time acquired an immense amount of knowledge, both about the skills, the tactics, everything about cricket. Those skills and tactics are going to be explained in the videotape that we're going to see. But for the time being, we're going to talk to Clive Lloyd about some of the basic principles of batting. Clive, is it important for a youngster to feel secure by wearing protective gear in cricket?
Yes, Frank, I think it's part and parcel of the game, and I think that he should wear whatever he sees fit to wear to protect himself. I think the basic things that people wear are pads. They must have some gloves, box, probably a thigh pad. Some people don't like them. A helmet. Some people feel uncomfortable without it.
But you'd say that the protective equipment should not prevent the player from playing his strokes properly?
Yes, it shouldn't be restricted, really.
Getting on to the stance of a batsman now, I noticed that you, when you stand at the wicket, are very upright, very still, very comfortable, very little movement at all in your stance. Are these the important components of the stance?
Well, I think with your stance, it's obvious that you've got to keep your head still. If you're moving your head around, it's obvious that you wouldn't be able to pick the line of the ball up properly. You'd be probably playing at a ball that is wide and you can leave alone. The basic thing about batting is really, I would think, is sighting the ball, picking the line up of the ball, and playing a shot accordingly. So you can only do that by keeping your head fairly still. You can lose those three important things where batting is concerned.
What about comfort and the side-on position?
Yes, your stance, you should be side-on. I think you should feel comfortable in your stance. If you're not comfortable, you'll be fidgeting around, and I think you should be as still as possible.
And I suppose, Clive, your stance would affect your back lift too.
Yes, it all depends, yes, how you stand. If you're fairly straight in your stance, I suppose that your bat will go back straight and come down straight. The main thing is when you bring your bat down, that it comes down straight. Because some people twirl their bat, but the point is that it comes back straight. And if you look at the coaching manuals, they're saying it doesn't matter if you have a high back lift, once the bat comes down straight and comes down quickly. Graham Gooch, he's got a fairly high back lift, but it comes down straight, and that's the most important thing.
Clive, I noticed that you hold your bat fairly high on the bat handle. Would you advocate that for all cricketers?
No, I think it's because of my height.
You seem to have reduced your game to fairly simple principles. Everything you do in the middle when you're batting is very economical. What would you say the basic principles of batting are? You've named one, of course, in lifting your bat straight back.
Yeah, I think it's concentration too, which is very, very important. And applying yourself, application. Those are two basic things that are needed in batting. Once you lose your concentration, you'll get out. You must concentrate on what you're doing. you have to try and play every ball in its merit. And if you can just basically sort of carry on with those couple of things where batting is concerned, you should be at ease, because there again you've got your stance, you've got your backlift right, you know, things like defense and attack. These are things that probably you'll learn as you go along, but basically it's concentrating on what you're doing, and I think that's foremost and should be uppermost in any batsman's mind, that you concentrate on every ball.
You seem to be able to judge length pretty well. Do you pick that up from the bowlers?
Well, yes. Well, there again we went back to the same thing about the three basic things. You've got to sight the ball and picking the line up and playing a shot accordingly. Now, that's very important. If you're picking the line up, you'll be able to pick where, you know, if it's a short ball, you know that if it's you'll know that you're probably trying to attempt a bumper. If it's well up, you're looking to go on the front foot. If it's short of a good length, you're looking to go on your back foot. So there again, picking the line up, this is very important.
Getting on now to running between the wickets. A lot of youngsters throw their wickets away by simply running badly between the wickets. What are the real basic secrets of running between the wickets?
Oh, there are quite a few, actually. The point is about, let's say, when you hit the ball, I don't think you should ever attempt to run until the ball is either past the fielder, or you should be able to judge if it's going to bisect the fielder, so you can call. You must know the basics, that if the ball is behind you, it's your partner's call. If it's behind him, it's your call. You should try to have basic understanding about running between the wickets. And another thing too that a lot of people get out to in the one-day games, that they turn blind. They're running and then they're not, without having the bat in the correct hand, they have to sort of strain their neck to look over their shoulders to see where the ball is. Now, if you're supposed to change the bat into different hands as the ball goes into different parts of the field, and that's very, very important, because if you turn blind, you would not know if the ball has got onto the ball quicker than you expected. And if you're looking for that second run and you just turn blind, you can be run out. There's another aspect of running between the wickets too. You can, by running your first run fast, you can put some pressure onto the fielder. If he's dilly-dallying a bit, if you got your first, if you got in there rather quickly into your crease by running your first run, you can, and he misfields once you've ducked your bat in and turn around, that means you can get a second run. These are things, this sort of pressure on the field, putting pressure on the field.
Right, putting it on the opposition.
Yeah.
Right.
Hadley to Dyson. He's clipping this behind. Then Cairns going for a quick through turn, and he looks as though he's run out. Porter on strike. First delivery from Hadley. A loud appeal for an LBW. And he looks as though he could be run out. He will be, or someone will be. It's a tremendous fiasco. Benson.
You better single all. There'll be a mix-up here. Chatfield gets the throw. It's a run out.
As Clive Lloyd has said, comfortable and safe protective equipment reduces the risk of injury and increases a batsman's confidence. Always wear pads that are not too big, a protector, a thigh pad, a helmet, and batting gloves that fit well and protect the hands. A bat that is the right size will rest on the inside of the front thigh when you're in the stance position. Having selected the correct equipment, further preparations may be made before you bat. Practice for a short time before the match. Sit out in the light in which you'll have to bat. Watch the bowler's tactics and the behavior of the pitch. On arriving at the crease, take guard by holding the bat upright in front of the stumps. Ask the umpire for either leg, middle and leg, or middle stump. By marking the position, you will always be aware of where you're standing in relation to the stumps. Note the position of the fieldsman before facing the first ball. As the bowler begins his run-up, concentrate on his running speed, his position at the crease, his action, and finally, the ball. Aim to survive the first over, then try to make one run. Once that's achieved, gradually make more difficult targets, such as I must reach 10. Scoring runs requires more than a good technique. A batsman must also know how to move quickly and safely between the wickets. A good batsman studies the play of everyone in the field. Try to discover the bowler's tactics. Note the good fieldsmen, and those who throw left hand or right hand. As we saw with Clive, the call for a run is made by the batsman who has a clearer sight of the ball. If the ball is hit in front of the wicket, the striker usually calls. Behind the wicket, it's usually the non-striker's call. 3 calls are used. Yes if you're going to run, no if you're not going to run, and wait if you're undecided. When at the non-striker's end, walk up to the wicket with the bowler clearly in view. Stay behind the batting crease until the bowler lets go of the ball, then try to gain as much ground as you can. Always face the ball when turning for a second or further run. And stretch out to ground your bat when completing the final run. To hit the ball hard, it's important to know the correct way to grip the bat and how to stand at the crease. To obtain the correct grip, place the bat on the ground in front of you, face downwards with the handle towards you. Pick up the bat with both hands close together in the middle of the handle. The V's, formed by the open thumb and forefinger of each hand, should point down the back of the bat. Stand comfortably upright at the crease with the front shoulder pointing towards the bowler. Feet are slightly apart and parallel to the crease. The bat rests behind the back foot. The hands are against the inside of the front thigh. Keep your head steady and eyes level. Just before the bowler sends down the ball, lift the bat straight back in line with the middle and off stumps. Remember that cricket is, first of all, having fun, and that learning how to play cricket is not just merely listening to coaches telling you what to do, but exchanging ideas with your fellow players and applying the information you receive to your own game. So go to it and have fun. Because a straight backlift is important in all batting shots, practice it with a friend until you feel the correct position. And Greenwich go together just like pepper and salt. They're recognised by the cricket world as one of the best opening partnerships in the game today. And to talk to us about some of the finer points of opening innings is Gordon Greenwich. Gordon, how do you go about preparing yourself to open an innings? It's a pretty hard job, isn't it?
Yes, it is a difficult job, but I think after you've been doing a job for a few years, you kind of get used to it.
Any sort of mental approach you have to have, or?
I think basically it takes a lot of concentration, and I think if you can maintain that for most of the 6 hours during the day, I think you're well on the way to sort of establishing yourself as probably, a good opening batsman.
And do you sort of do anything before you go out in terms of getting by yourself to concentrate, get your thoughts together?
There are a lot of little fidgety little things you do in the dressing room, but I'll leave that out for the moment.
When you get out there, do you sort of set yourself any goals to survive the first over or score a certain number of runs?
I think the main thing is that you try to survive. That is the main thing, and then you try and progress from there. like perhaps taking the game from session to session, and then, of course, as you go on, you grow more in confidence, and you are seeing the ball better as the day go on, and you may excel from there.
You said that you try to survive. Now, does this mean then that there are any sort of shots that you'd cut out, any strokes that you wouldn't try too early?
It may look so, but if the ball is there, you still have to hit it. And whether you are a strong hitter or just someone that just sort of, as the say in the game, sort of nudge it around, you still got to play the shots or play the ball as you see it. So, of course, it's still up to the individual when you get out there.
Gordon, facing fast bowling when you open the innings is a pretty tough task. Is there any secret? Do you get onto the back foot? Do you restrict your back lift? What do you do?
I think my back lift is the same for fast bowling or slow bowling. Again, it's just judgment of the ball, the bounce you've got to get used to. Whether you should play back or forward to certain deliveries, it's a lot of judgment has to come into it. So of course, whether you have a high back lift or a short one, it's just natural for some people to have a high back lift, and that's the way they play. I think if you're going back to the textbook style, perhaps the shorter back lift would be better. But speaking now, I'm too old to change.
Right. But therefore, you'd probably pick your bat up just a little bit earlier, I presume, than most people.
Perhaps a little earlier for a fast ball, yes.
Tell me, the front foot shot, you play it beautifully, the front foot drive, and you place it so beautifully. What is the secret of placement in the front foot drive?
Obviously, positioning of the, sort of bat and pad close together to drive the ball, and get as close to the ball as possible. But you'll find that some people could drive the ball without getting that close. Perhaps, it might be the best thing to do when the ball is coming at you so quickly. But I would say, perhaps if you can get as close as possible to the ball, then that's half your worries gone.
And the on drive is a very difficult stroke. Do you find that you have to open up a little bit more for that stroke?
You would, and you will always leave a gap between bat and pad to do that, unless you play very far in front of your pad. Some people sort of just have a knack for playing the ball on the onside, but then some have to adjust quite a lot to get the ball to go in the direction they want it to go in.
The West Indies players have always had a reputation for being excellent drivers, and they hit the ball on the up a lot. Is there any secret in that?
No, I think we just like to play the shots we like to play, sort of attacking shots, and sometimes it's our downfall, but the percentage is more in our favor, we feel, because that's the way we've been playing, that's the way most of us play, and we've had a reasonable success with it.
Well, the West Indian players have certainly shown that they can get on with the game and score very quickly, and that advice from Gordon Greenwich is pretty good. Thank you very much indeed, Gordon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Gordon Greenwich facing Headley. Full, driven through the vacant mid-off region. Peter Webb from cover is after it. It won't reach the boundary. They should get an easy 3. So they're coming back for 3. Peter Webb returns.
Well up to Greenwich. He whacks this one through mid-off. Well, there'll be at least 2 runs, possibly 3 here. Greenwich running very quickly.
122, the West Indies. He's hit this one high and hard. It could be 6. It's into the stand. 6 runs. Straight over the bowler's head. A good shot. That one, plenty of room, and he just swung into it. All power, Greenwich. Hit it high and hard. Into the stand.
Knowing when to play a shot is just as important as knowing how to do it. You use the front foot drive to punish a fairly straight ball that does not bounce or lands on the pitch within the batsman's reach as he steps forward from the crease. Just before the bowler bowls, lift the bat back high and straight. As the ball arrives, step forward with the front foot just inside the line of the ball. Lean towards the ball with the point of the front shoulder, the bent front elbow, and the leading hip. Bend the front knee. Throughout the stroke, the batsman's arms, shoulders and bat combine to make a figure 9. Hit at the ball with an upright bat, almost brushing the side of the front pad. Keep your head down and your eyes on the spot where the bat hits the ball. Throw your hands in the direction of the ball, following through in the direction of the stroke. Good balance and a straight follow-through enable the batsman to hit the ball hard. The back foot always remains pegged to the ground. The front foot drive has several variations. It may be played at a ball wide of the off stump and hit towards cover point. This is the cover drive. The off drive is played at a ball just outside the off stump and hit towards extra cover or mid-off. A ball on the stumps is hit straight using the straight drive. The on drive is played to a ball on or outside the leg stump and is hit towards mid-on. The movement of the front foot to a position just inside the line of the ball will determine the direction of the drive. There are times when the batsman is unable to play the front foot drive. If the ball pitches on the stumps but bounces just out of reach, making the batsman hesitate about playing forward or back, use the front foot defensive shot or block the ball. To play the block, imagine you're going to play a front foot drive but stop the bat when it's level with the front leg. Relaxing the grip on the handle with the bottom hand will help to drop the ball at your feet. Grind the ball into the ground and remember the figure 9. Remember to remain balanced. Bend the front knee and keep the back foot anchored. When the ball is in line with or just outside the leg stump, it may be deflected on the leg side behind the stumps for runs. This shot is the front foot leg glance. The only difference between the front foot defensive stroke and the leg glance occurs at the point of contact. To deflect the ball, use a little more power with the bottom hand and have the face of the bat angled towards the leg side. Practice the front foot drive by hitting the ball off a batting tee between a set of goalposts. To practice all of the front foot drives, have a partner throw the ball from a short distance away. Since 1979, Jeff Harth has been captain of New Zealand's Test side and has also captained Surrey in the English County Championship. During that time, he has established himself as one of the leading middle-order batsmen in the world. He's going to talk to us now about the back foot defensive stroke and the back foot drive. Jeff, these shots, they're not very easy, are they?
No, Frank, I think in the world of cricket, I think they're probably one of the most difficult shots to perfect because of the way one approaches them, whereby in most cricket shots in cricket you're going off the front foot, you're playing forward. With the back foot shots, you've got to go off the back foot, playing off the back foot, which is slightly foreign to what we're probably used to.
No one does it in any other ball game, they all move forward.
That's right.
Tell me, in this back foot movement, what are the main points that you would emphasize?
I think you've got to, first and foremost, you've got to move your feet to get yourself in a definite position whereby you can execute the shot properly. I think with your foot movement comes your shoulder, your head, and this all goes into making the shot as perfect as possible. I think the one aspect of the shot that we tend to overlook, perhaps when we're learning the shot or coaching the shot,
is the fact that we probably try and hit the ball too hard, whereby it puts us all out of balance and everything goes a bit askew. So we just sort of try and control the shot. It becomes that much more easy.
It is difficult to control, isn't it? How do you keep the ball down when you're playing this shot?
I think I've found in my experience that you've got to perhaps wait a little longer for the ball to come onto the bat, so that you are hitting the ball down into the deck, as opposed to hitting the ball on the rise. I think on the front foot we do tend to hit the ball down into the ground, but the back foot shot's a little bit more difficult because, as we mentioned before, the balance thing comes into it, and you tend to be hitting a bit strangely, and therefore I think you've got to wait for the ball to come onto the bat and make sure you do keep control with your top arm, your shoulder and your elbow.
Your elbow's important then. You have to have it, what, high?
I think you've got to have it high, so you've got to keep it going, especially in the defensive shot, you've got to keep it high so that you're over the top of the ball. When you're playing the attacking shot straight at the wicket, right, they say to keep your elbow up, but that means that you keep the elbow going in the direction of the ball so that your hands are going there, your elbow's going there, everything's going in the direction that you want the ball to go.
Straight on the line of the ball towards the stroke, yes. Fine. Tell me, what are the main faults that occur when, say, a youngster's learning this shot?
Well, we've mentioned one already, I think, trying to hit the ball too hard. I think another one is perhaps not picking the right ball to hit. There's a fine dividing line between a straight batted back foot shot and a cross batted back foot shot. And I think you've got to just be a little bit wary of the line that you do pick up to play the ball. You don't want to be playing it too wide, or else you're going to get mixed into slips. And I think, again, is getting your feet into position whereby you are in a solid position and on a solid basis to play your shot.
How would you then tell a youngster how to practice this stroke?
Well, it's the same with everything else in cricket, Frank. I think it's a lot of hard work and a lot of patience. You've got to get your friends or your mate or your team to throw balls to you short of the length, whereby you can get your feet in position, get your shoulder and head in position, and get the bat and ball going through to where you want it to go. And I think it's just a lot of hard work and practice.
It's all perspiration and not inspiration.
It certainly is. You've got to get the glory. You've got to put a bit of sweat in, and with all aspects of cricket, the practice is the most important part.
And Jeff Howarth has certainly found that out the hard way. Thank you, Jeff.
His first delivery from Ghana. Off the back foot. Through backward point. That'll be 4.
Short of a length, clip through the gully. That's going to run away. Marks. And off the back foot through the corner. Stronger shot this time. It's outside the off stump. Could have been away the offside. This one bouncing a little bit out.
To get on top of a bowler who bowls short of a length, you must use the back foot strokes. The back foot drive punishes a fairly straight ball that bounces a long way in front of the batsman. It can hit the stumps, but the batsman has a long time in which to see the ball and hit it. In some respects, this shot is similar to the front foot drive. Lift the bat back high and straight. It is always vertical. There is no gap between bat and pad. Head and eyes are behind the line of the ball. When playing the back foot drive, step back with the rear foot so that the back leg is just inside the line of the ball. The back foot is parallel to the batting crease. To keep your balance, move the front foot back slightly towards the rear foot. Hit at the ball by rocking the front bent elbow and the leading shoulder towards the line of the ball. Make contact with the ball level with the back leg. Remember to keep the figure 9 between your shoulders, arms, and bat throughout the stroke. Throw the hands at the ball, hitting first with the top hand and then with the bottom. The bat follows through high above the front shoulder. The The back foot drive has several variations. These are played in the same directions as the front foot drives. The cover drive, off drive, the straight drive, the on drive. If a delivery is not quite short enough to play a back foot drive safely to, then the back foot defensive stroke is used. The ball is just short of a good length and in line with the stumps. To play this stroke, imagine you're going to play a back foot drive but stop the bat when it's level with the back leg. Relaxing the grip on the handle with the bottom hand will assist in making the ball drop at your feet. Push the ball into the ground. Remember the figure 9. If the ball is short of a length and in line with or just outside the leg stump, it may be deflected on the leg side behind the stumps for runs. This shot is the back foot leg glance. Point the front elbow and shoulder towards the line of the ball as in the back foot defensive stroke, and swing the bat down in an upright position towards the line of the ball. Hit the ball just in front of your back leg as the bat swings slightly towards the leg side. Use a little more power with the bottom hand. The back foot drive is difficult to master and must be hit so as not to give a catch. The fieldsmen close in for this practice activity are trying to catch the ball. Because the back foot defense and back foot leg glance are similar, both shots can be practiced with this activity. The fieldsmen in front of the wicket are attempting to catch the ball before it hits the ground. When the ball pitches on leg stump or just outside, try to deflect it towards the fieldsman behind the stumps.
The square cut, the pull and the hook bring many a batsman lots and lots of runs, but they are fairly dangerous strokes. And therefore you need to be a pretty good exponent of those strokes. There's no better exponent of the cut, the pull and the hook than Kepler Wessels, Australia's opening batsman. Kepler, how would you judge the ball that is right, for instance, to cut to square cut?
Well, Frank, I think it's very important that you judge the length and also the line. Naturally, I wouldn't advocate playing the shot until you've been there for a little while, so you've adjusted the pace and the bounce of the wicket. But it's important that it's certainly wide enough to cut and also that it's short enough. By the same token, you've got to be careful that it's not too wide. And then you've just got to make sure that you get over the top of the ball and try and keep it down as much as you can.
Right. And how would you now say this is the ball to pull?
Well, very much along the same lines. Again, it's, you can only basically pull a short pitch delivery, and it's very similar to the cut shot in that you've got to get your back foot back and across, and again, try and hit over the top of the ball. It's so important, as you say, to pick the right ball to pull, but, it is a natural reaction to a certain extent, but if you know you're confident with those two shots, I think you're probably always aware that you can play them, and when the ball is short and you pick it up quickly enough, well then and hit over the ball, you shouldn't have too much trouble.
What line would you pull a ball from?
Well, naturally, I wouldn't try and pull one that's too wide of the off stump. I think if you start attempting that, well, you're flirting with danger, especially against quick, fast bowling. I'd be looking towards maybe middle and at the extreme off stump when I'm looking to pull it. But again, I think the length there is very important. If it's short enough and you pick it up quickly enough, you can get away with it.
And the hook, what body position would you take up?
I always like to try and get inside the ball when I'm hooking, so that I can keep it down. I think it's very, very important in today's game that you keep your hook shot down because they stick too back for you as soon as you start hitting the ball in the air. So if you can get inside the ball and keep it down, well, you're eliminating some of the dangers.
Is the high back lift very important in these cross-bat strokes?
Well, I think, again, it probably depends on your personal style. I haven't got that bigger backlift, and I probably never really have had that. I think it's important that you use the pace of the bowler to your advantage as well. So especially on the cut shot, you know, it's probably easier to hit the ball or to time the ball off the quick bowlers than it is sometimes off the slow bowlers. You've got to use their pace to your advantage. I've never found that my backlift hasn't been too high, so you know, I found with a limited backlift I've probably had a little bit more success.
And what are the main dangers that you would see in the execution of these cross-bat strokes?
Certainly trying to play them too early before you're used to the bounce and the pace, and certainly trying to play them the cut shot anyway when it's too close to your body. And the same with the pull shot or the hook shot. If the ball is too high, well, you've got to be very careful. You've got to be an extremely good hooker to be able to keep it down. So it boils down to try and pick the right ball and to play it at the right time of your innings.
Well, I hope you play many more. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you very much.
Tony goes for the hook. Short. Nice shot off the back foot. Going for the hook, and it'll be 4 runs.
The most natural stroke for any young player is the pull shot or the slog. You play the pull shot against a bad ball that bounces a long way in front of you, giving you a lot of time in which to hit it. Since the delivery bounces waist high and is usually outside the line of the stumps, there's no danger of your being bowled. You hit the ball away along the ground between square leg and mid-on. To play the stroke, first lift your bat back as you would swing back a baseball bat. Your hands are high with the bat angled slightly upwards towards the sky. Now the rear foot moves back towards the offside to get your body behind the ball. In hitting the ball, swing the bat down on it. At contact, your arms are straight and the bat face is angled towards the ground. Lean slightly forward into the stroke. Let the bat swing down after contact to finish high above your front shoulder. The direction of the shot will vary according to the line of the ball. If the ball is pitched outside off stump, hit to wide mid-on. In line with the stumps, mid-wicket. Outside the leg stump, backward square leg. Sometimes a short-pitched ball bounces shoulder high or slightly higher. The hook shot is used to hit this delivery. This stroke is similar to the pull shot, except the movement of your back foot takes your head inside to the offside of the line of the ball. In swinging your bat down on the ball, swivel on the toes of your back foot until you are facing the wicketkeeper. Remember to hit the ball down onto the ground. If a very short ball is too wide of the off stump to play a pull shot, then you can use the cut shot. To play the stroke, lift the bat back behind your head with your hands high. Step back with your rear foot across the wicket to a point that is at bat and arm's length from the line of the delivery. Chop down on the ball, hitting it with your arms straight. Lean in the direction of the shot, let the bat swing through. When practicing the cut shot, do not try to hit the ball too hard. Concentrate on hitting it into the ground. It is a delicate and beautiful stroke. To practice the pull and hook shots, one player throws a ball short of a length to a batsman who tries to pull or hook it past the fieldsman on the leg side. A similar group activity can be used to practice the cut shot, with the batsman trying to place the ball through a goal in the point area. Strike force in any cricket team is the fast bowler. And Australia's strike force at the moment, and Dennis Lilly's successor, is none other than Jeff Lawson. Who better to talk to us about the finer points of fast bowling? Jeff, fast bowling is a strenuous activity. How important is it to warm up before you bowl fast?
Well, Frank, due to that exact strenuous nature, I think warming up is extremely important. Fast bowlers in cricket obviously do far more physical strain of their bodies than anybody else. And warming up properly, especially your hamstrings and your lower back and your groin, which goes under tremendous stretching when you bowl, I think is very important. It's not only important before the first day of the game, but after you spend a day in the field, it's very important to stretch after the end of the day's play, and the next morning before you go out and bowl again, that's when it becomes really important to do it. Because you keep those injuries away, you're going to play for a lot longer and achieve a great deal more.
Moving now on to the match situation, Jeff, what would your aims be in the first over test match, when you're bowling your first over?
Well, apart from the obvious aim of taking a wicket, there's things you want to achieve, like getting your run-up exactly right, achieving rhythm in your run-up and your action, bowling on the length that you think's right for that particular wicket at that particular time, and hopefully finding out what movement there is in the air. So you've actually got to find out quite a few things in the first 6 balls you bowl in a test match.
All right, moving on then further into the game, and you're walking back to your mark to bowl, what are you thinking about? Are you looking for the batsman's weaknesses?
Well, what I usually think about is what's preceded the next delivery, and how the batsman's played that delivery, what their footwork's been, have they played back early, have they played forward early, and frequently I'll ask someone who's feeling mid-on or mid-off to give me a bit of help with that, because it's not easy to pick up when you're actually bowling. But when I'm walking back, I'm usually planning what the next ball will be, or the next series of balls will be, based on what the batsman's done in the previous deliveries.
Do you look for any specific weaknesses you can exploit?
Well, yeah, I think there's obvious things like a batsman is not a front foot player, so you tend to bowl a bit further up to him, or he's not a back foot player, so you might bowl a little shorter to him, and hopefully that's what you pick up by watching him play those certain deliveries, and obviously that depends on what the wicket's playing like.
What would you say are the most important aspects of a bowler's run-up, a fast bowler's run-up?
Well, I think it varies from player to player. For me personally, I have what I call a rhythm run-up. A lot of people say it's too long, but usually the first half of it I don't actually use a lot of energy. I just build my momentum up very slowly until I get to the delivery stride where it should be at its maximum. And I think gaining a rhythm is one really important aspect of being a very good bowler.
How important would you say that a bowler's front arm is in a bowler's fast bowler's action?
Well, for a classical fast bowler, of course, you getting side on is one of those paramount things you have to do. And to get if your front arm's falling away too early and you're not getting it across your body enough, well, it's very hard to get side on. I think your front arm leads your body into delivery stride, you know, it gets your body up high and it gets it side on. And if it's in the right place, the rest of your body tends to follow it. So getting it in the right place, you don't have to worry about getting everything else in the right place because it follows your front arm.
Lee's on 3, facing Garner. He nicks this one to third slip, and Lawrence Rowe takes the catch. Croft to right. He's bowled in for New Zealand 18 for 1. Bowled in for the West Indies. Garner from the northern end to Parker. Clean bowling. Holding, pitching a little outside the off stump and coming back into the New Zealand captain. He was looking to drive it away through the covers. Perhaps there might have been the hint of an inside edge, or perhaps the ball ran from his pads. But
Opportunity for Cody.
The English cricket commentator John Arlott once described the great Australian fast bowler Ray Lindwall as he ran to the wicket as poetry in motion. Indeed, Lindwall's run-up was beautiful to behold, but it was much more. It was an important and functional part of an efficient fast bowling action. A correct, balanced, forward-leaning run-up to the wicket is essential if you're to bowl straight and on a good length. When commencing your run-up, imagine you're driving a car. Start slowly in first gear, then accelerate by changing to second, third and fourth gears. Slow down slightly before bowling, jump into the air and twist sideways so that your chest is facing the stumps at the bowler's end as you land on your back foot. The bowler's run does not end with the delivery of the ball. After you've let go of the ball, run in a straight line after it for at least 1 or 2 paces before running off the wicket. It's important that your run-up and follow-through keeps you moving toward the batsman's wicket. To learn how to bowl with a run-up, first cut out 9 foot shapes from cardboard or some similar material. Place 5 foot shapes on the ground like this. Stand on the first 2 foot shapes with your feet together, then take your first step with the foot opposite the bowling hand. During the second step, twist sideways with a small jump to finish on the foot shapes in the bowling position with your chest facing the stumps at the bowler's end. Now extend this run-up with the aid of another 2 foot shapes. Use walking steps first for your run-up, then a slow jog. When you're ready, lengthen your run-up to 6 steps or even more until you establish a comfortable run-up. The run-up is an introduction to an even more vital phase of the skill, the delivery stride, using the correct closed or side-on action. This action enables the bowler to bowl the ball straight and on a good length. It also helps in the amount of speed or spin he can achieve. Let's have a look at how to deliver the ball with a basic closed action. As you slow up slightly at the end of your run-up, jump from the foot opposite your bowling arm high into the air and twist sideways as though doing an astride jump to face the stumps at the bowling crease. As you land on your back foot, reach upwards with your front arm and rock backwards. Look behind your bowling arm and over your front shoulder at the spot on the wicket where you want to land the ball. Rotate your bowling arm so that it brushes the side of your head. Release the ball when your bowling arm is at its highest position. Thrust your front arm down the wicket in the direction of the batsman's stumps and step down the wicket with your front foot pointing towards the batsman's leg stump. Keep your front leg stiff as the bowling arm comes over. After you release the ball, let the bowling arm follow through across the body and bend your back to try and touch the little toe of your front foot. Follow through and run after the ball in the direction of the batsman's wicket.
This one just angling across Bruce Lee. And this is the benefit that a left-arm seamer has with the angle, pitching round about leg stump and just leaving him a fraction, perhaps misjudging it slightly, taking the outside edge and a comfortable catch.
And he tended to follow it away, the little edge. Dalpat did well, moved a fair way.
Beauty, see how it bowled, it's pitched and cuts away from the bat, and on top of that it went very, very quickly to the keeper.
What would you say is perhaps the most important aspect of bowling an outswinger?
Well, bowling an outswinger, I think, is very much a technique thing, especially getting side on. Because if you don't get side on, you don't get that extra bit of whip that you get. You tend to push the ball down the leg side, the seam doesn't come up right. And I'd say if there was one particular aspect about bowling an outswinger, I would think it'd be getting particularly side on.
Would that differ when you bowl an in-swinger?
Yeah, well, a lot of people bowl their in-swing and out-swing with almost the same action, but they change their grip. I tend to change my action a bit by opening my body up and bowling a bit wider of the crease. That way you get the angle into the batsman, which also helps the in-swing a bit. So I think changing the action, getting a bit more open for your in-swinger is also very important.
Jeff, thanks very much indeed.
Well, there's a very good ball, and he's out.
And he's edged this one behind, and he's out. Bruce Lee is out.
46 on the front foot.
Oh, and that's clean bowling.
Morning, it's Hadley to Chappell, Australia 241 for 4.
That's it! And
Hadley bowling to Haynes.
The basic close action is ideally suited to the delivery of many different balls in cricket, but to none more than that most lethal delivery, the outswinger. The outswinger is a fast or medium-paced delivery which curves in the air from the leg to the offside of a batsman before bouncing on the pitch. The intention is either to bowl the batsman or dismiss him either caught by the wicket-keeper or in the slips. For the outswinger, the ball is held with a V for victory grip. The first and second fingers of the bowling hand form a V, slightly across the upright seam of the ball. The seam points towards first slip. Support the bottom of the ball with the side of the thumb gripping the base of the seam. The third and fourth fingers are bent and rest lightly on the side of the ball. The smooth, shiny half of the ball faces the batsman's leg side. Now bowl with the basic closed action, and as you let go of the ball, steer the seam with the first and second fingers of the bowling hand towards first slip. Follow through with the arm across your body to finish alongside the left hip. The inswinger moves in the air in the opposite direction to the outswinger. It's a fast or medium-paced delivery which swings or curves in the air from the off to the leg before it bounces. It will bowl the batsman who leaves a gap between his bat and pad through which the ball can pass. The batsman who hits too firmly with the bottom hand on the bat handle may give a catch off the inswinger to the fieldsman placed on the leg side. To bowl the inswinger effectively, you must modify the basic closed action which you use to bowl the outswinger. You employ a more open or chest-on action. This you produce by jumping onto your rear foot in the delivery stride, ready to do in a stride jump, not facing the bowler's stumps, but rather a point just in front of those stumps. You still throw your front arm upwards and rock back, but this time look over your front shoulder and along the line of your front arm rather than behind it. When you throw your front arm and leg down the wicket as you step into the delivery stride, move towards a spot just outside the batsman's off stump. Swing your bowling arm around in a circle, releasing the ball when the arm is in its highest position. This time, however, do not follow through right across the body with the arm, but rather finish with the bowling arm brushing closer to the outside of the leading leg. The open action should give you the impression of pushing the ball into the batsman. Consequently, you peel off in your follow-through towards the batsman's offside. In addition to using the open action to bowl the in-swinger, you must also employ the appropriate grip. Hold the ball with the V for victory grip, this time pointing the upright seam towards the batsman's legs. The smooth, shiny half of the ball should face the batsman's offside. As you release the ball, steer the seam in towards the batsman's legs. The outswinger and the inswinger are important parts of every pace bowler's armoury. By delivering these balls from different spots on the bowling crease, the fast bowler can attack the batsman from as many angles as a slow bowler. Swing is one of the many variations employed by speedsters such as Jeff Lawson, Ian Botham, Malcolm Marshall and Michael Holding. It underlines the fact that fast bowling is a thinking as well as a physical pursuit. It's important to work out the run-up that is most comfortable for you and suits your bowling style. You can do this with a partner by starting your run-up from the bowling crease with your feet together and running away from the batsman. Speed up slowly until you feel that you are balanced, moving at the top suitable pace for your bowling, then bowl. Your partner marks where your back foot lands. Repeat a number of times until your back foot always lands in the same spot. Then measure out the distance from the starting point to the final marker with normal walking paces. The number of paces measured is the length of your run-up. Pairs of players, one acting as bowler and the other as wicket-keeper, can practice bowling the outswinger and the inswinger together. They need a ball, one half of which is red and the other half painted white. The bowler tries to bowl the outswinger and the inswinger so that he hits a target placed on the pitch before going on to hit the stumps. The seam should not wobble in the air. Here's a good activity to practice the basic action and in-swing and outswing, requiring nothing but yourself, a friend, and a red and white half ball. Using the correct grip, adopt the appropriate bowling stance without a run-up and bowl to one another. Make sure that the two colours of the ball are clearly visible as the ball goes down the wicket towards your partner. The seam must not wobble. Since 1971, John Embry has been an off-spinner with Middlesex in the English County Championship and has worked his way up through the ranks to become one of England's leading off-spinners. He's going to talk to us about the skill of off-spin. John, how does a young spinner get the maximum off-spin on the ball?
Well, it's important that his grip on the ball. It's important that if he wants to get maximum turn, that he's got to hold the ball tight in those first two fingers. And the less spin that you want to partake, then the lesser grip or the more slack there is in the actual grip. The slacker the grip, the less turn there is, and the more that the ball's going to do a bit more in the air and drift away from the batsman.
A bowler doesn't bowl off-spin all the time. What are the main variants that a bowler should use?
Well, we use change of pace, change of flight. We use an arm ball where we go slightly wider of the crease and look to make the ball pitch on or start giving the impression that it's going down the leg side. Ball pitches on, then straightens, so we have a chance of bowling them or getting them LBW. And then there's also the aspect of the ball is a little bit straighter, that it goes on towards the slips and you've got a chance of being caught out in the slip area.
Would you use the crease bowl wider or close to the stumps when you're using these variants?
Yeah, I tend to normally bowl very close to the stumps. But when you're bowling the ball, making the ball drift away, it's important to actually bowl wide in the crease and to bowl a different angle to the batsman.
John, is it important to bowl across the front foot when you're bowling off spin? Does it give you any advantage?
It gives you an advantage by getting up high and vibration your front foot, and also getting as much body movement in following through. And it also gets your arm up high. If you get your left arm up high and this follow through, you're able to come through, and then when the right arm follows through, it comes down by the right side, your left thigh. And as it goes through, the ball should get some sort of natural drift in the air.
Towards the slips?
Towards the slips, yeah.
Right. Now tell me, would you bowl differently on different kinds of wickets?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time. It probably takes one or two overs to actually find out what the actual pace of the wicket is. And then once you've sort of assessed that, then you start bowling at that pace, and you do your variations at that pace, so that you're keeping check on the batsman.
How would you start your bowling stint? What are your main objectives?
Well, my main objective is that when I first bowl is to bowl my first two overs very cheaply. I try and bowl a couple of maidens and then try and put a little bit of pressure on the batsman and make him play bad mistakes. It gives me a little bit of confidence and gives me the advantage of being on top of the batsman from the start rather than him dominating me.
Do you think these first two overs are important when a youngster bowls?
I think it's important, especially at schoolboy level, because with most captains nowadays, especially at schoolboy level, if a spinner gets hit around these first two overs, the captains tend to take them off rather quickly. And if a spin bowler is going to be successful, then he needs to bowl in long spells.
What other general advice would you give to any person or any youngster who wants to aspire to become a finger spinner?
Well, I think they've got to have a lot of patience. I'd tell them to concentrate on their line and length, and then start working from there. I mean, Fred Titmus taught me a lot of things, and one thing he taught me was not to give many runs away early on and make mistakes.
Well, Fred Titmus was a great England off-spinner, and John Embry, too, is a great England off-spinner. If youngsters take advice from John, let's hope they become just as good as he.
Oh, and it's bowled in. McMark's in his 33rd over.
He's let this one hit him on the pad. He's out LBW. Oh, and he's been taken. Clear by the New Zealanders.
England off-spinner Jim Laker took a record 19 wickets in the Old Trafford Test of 1956, proving beyond a shadow of doubt that when conditions suit him, the slow off-spinner can be one of the most effective bowling forces in cricket. The off-spinner is a ball bowled at slow speed which turns after it bounces from off to leg. The delivery also usually curves away in the air towards the offside. The ball is designed to bowl a batsman, or have him caught if he misjudges the flight and hits the ball into the air, or have him stumped if he leaves his crease and misses the ball.
The basic grip of the off spinner is very simple. You place the first two fingers of your right hand on the seam. You slide both fingers wide apart until you come into a nice comfortable position on the ball with the first finger on the seam and the second finger run along the seam down here. Now when we're bowling, we rest the thumb slightly on the side of the ball and the third finger just underneath the ball. It's important to have a nice tight grip on the ball so that the more purchase you have in the ball, then the more spin you're going to partake from the wicket.
Now bowl with the basic closed action, placing the braced leading leg in front of the bowler's wicket, and as you deliver the ball, swiveling on the front foot. As you let the ball go, push the first finger of the bowling hand quickly forwards towards backward short leg, turning the wrist vigorously clockwise, as though you were turning a doorknob in that direction. The swiveling action of the body makes the ball drift towards the offside, whilst the spin imparted to it by the finger and wrist action turns it back into the batsman. Of course, if the off-spinner bowls every ball in identical fashion, the batsman can anticipate its flight and spin and play his strokes accordingly. Therefore, the off-spinner tries to confuse his opponent by varying his stock ball with other types of deliveries. One of these variants is the arm ball, a delivery which drifts in the air towards the slips, but does not turn back from the off. The batsman who makes allowances for the ball spinning back may consequently edge a catch to the wicketkeeper or slip fieldsman.
The other variation is what we call the floater or the arm ball. It's where, again, if you're trying to disguise the ball, you place two fingers on the ball as I do, and then just turn the ball slightly so that you're in a seam bowler's position, and then you just slide that second finger down again with the top finger just on the seam, the ball slightly angled towards slips, and instead of turning the wrist over in the off-spinner's grip, you just push the end, get the wrist behind the ball and push straight through and follow through with the right arm following through down by the right leg.
The off-spinner can also vary his method of attack by bowling the top spinner. This delivery, which, because it's bowled with more overspin and is released earlier in the swing of the bowling arm, loops or drops suddenly in its flight, as well as bouncing higher off the wicket. Quite often, the batsman will misjudge where this ball will bounce, and if he fails to reach it on the half volley or full toss, its higher bounce will cause him to loft his stroke and be caught.
The grip for the top spinner is very much similar to the ordinary off spinner, except when it's released from the hand, it comes out much higher. There's not so much movement of the wrist. The wrist is cocked back, but instead of being down here, we come over the top more, and it's important to have a very high action with the arm coming over close to the ear.
Practice bowling off-spinners with a partner, you need a suitable pitch with a line marked by witches' hats lengthways on the ground for some meters in front of where the stumps would be. You and your partner bowl off-spinners to one another, trying to make the ball spin across the line of witches' hats after it bounces. many years, Richie Benaud, a leg spinner, was Australia's leading wicket-taker in tests, proving beyond a shadow of doubt that the wrist spinner is a very potent force in top-class cricket. Bob Holland is Richie Benaud's successor and Australia's leading leg spinner of today, and we're going to talk to him about his skill. Bob, is it important for a young spin bowler to sacrifice spin in order to gain line and length?
Well, Frank, it's very important that a youngster, a young leg spin bowler, should spin the ball hard. He must learn to spin the ball very hard. At the same time, he should be thinking about his line and his length, but not at the expense of spinning the ball hard.
Bob, how do you impart spin, and what are the most important fingers you use?
Basically, I grip the ball so it sits in a cradle in my hand between my thumb and the first three fingers. The two most important fingers are my third finger and the thumb. They do most of the work in spinning the ball.
And do you think it's important for a youngster to develop a stop ball?
Yes, that's very important. There's a trap for young leg spinners in learning to bowl too much variety too early. The young leg spinner must develop a stock ball, and that, I would suggest, should be the leg break. There is a problem with bowling too many wrong uns and too many top spinners too early, in that they're much harder to bowl, and a young leg spinner won't be able to keep his accuracy in bowling those deliveries. The end result, of course, is that the captain won't bowl the young leg spinner as much. So I would suggest that a young leg spinner needs to have a stock ball. It should be a leg break, and he should practice that very hard, and don't practice the top spinner and the wrong one too much early in a career.
Obviously, a leg spinner does need variation. How do you use the crease to gain such variation?
The main aim in bowling slow is to deceive the batsman at the other end. And that can be achieved mainly by making the ball land in a different position to the position the batsman expects. And you can do that by altering the angle that the bowler delivers the ball, for instance, going wider on the crease or closer to the stumps, or bowling behind the crease, and also by the use of flight, and that is to perhaps get some drift in the air, or the top spin will make the ball drop quicker in its flight.
The side-on position is very important for a fast bowler. Is it equally important for a leg spinner?
Yes, that's important also. I think that if a nice side-on position is obtained by the leg spinner, the ball will drop quicker in its flight, and also it'll tend to drift into the right-hand batsman. That's very important also.
You've mentioned the variations of the top spinner and the wrong one. What are the main differences between those balls and the leg spinner?
Well, basically a top spinner spins in a forward motion, so it will gain bounce off the wicket when it lands, and the most important thing is that it will drop in its flight, and it'll land short of the batsman. He may well, in trying to drive the ball, hit it back to the bowler, and he may get a catch and bowl. The wrong one is delivered over the back of the fingers, so that it's like an off spinner, and that's also an excellent delivery to deceive the batsman, in that he won't know which way the ball is going to turn. He may deceive him by turning the ball back in that direction.
And what's the very best piece of advice you would give a young leg spinner trying to make it to the top?
I think it's very important that the young leg spinners practice very hard. A leg spinner, I believe, has to practice longer than the other types of bowlers, for longer periods of time, I mean. And I think they have to use their practice time correctly by having a method about their practice. For instance, bowling leg spinners for a period of time at practice and then changing to wrong-uns. And as I was talking about the young leg spinners bowling less wrong-uns when they're younger, they shouldn't be practicing them quite so much either. They must spend most of their time practicing their leg breaks. But at practice, concentrating on bowling, say, 5 minutes of leg breaks, and switching to a few minutes of wrong-uns and a few minutes of top spinners, and also trying to bowl certain lines, and bowling off stump for a period of time, and then bowling centre stump and leg stump, and using their practice time to good advantage.
Quite often, a leg spinner is faced with a batsman who moves down the wicket to hit him. Now, what advice would you give a young leg spinner in that situation?
The most important thing is that he must have his field set correctly. If the batsman is doing that, don't be afraid to put a couple of fielders out on the boundary to discourage the batsman from doing it, or he may well hit a catch in the air and you know, one of those fielders can take the catch. The bowler must try to bowl accurately to those type of batsmen, so that if you bowl a good length ball on the stumps, it's very hard for the batsman to actually hit you out there. And you have a very good chance of getting his wicket if he tries. But, you know, there is a tendency for the young leg spin bowlers not to have fieldsmen on the fence. They tend to try and bowl with all close-in catches and that sort of thing, and they mustn't be afraid to put a couple of fielders on the boundary.
A wicket falls and a new batsman comes to the crease. What will be your tactics in the next few overs?
Well, initially, it's very important to make him play every delivery. I try exceptionally hard then to bowl a good line and good length, and to make him play every ball. And then some slight changes in angle and the position you deliver the ball may well make him misjudge the ball when he initially arrives at the crease.
When the captain throws you the ball and asks you to bowl for the first time in a match, what are your first considerations?
There is a tendency for a young leg spinner to come on and attempt to bowl the batsman out immediately he starts to bowl. And I think that's a mistake. When I come on to bowl, my prime consideration is to try and bowl 2 or 3 maiden overs and to bowl accurately initially, so that I get a good start. I get warmed up and I'm bowling well. If there's nothing worse than a leg spinner coming on and bowling a couple of long hops or full tosses early, you get 4 or 8 runs off an over, and the captain then has a tendency to take the bowler off and try one of his medium paces. So it's very important for the leg spinner to come on and bowl accurately and not have too many runs off the first few overs.
Thank you very much indeed, Bob.
Thanks very much, Frank.
Slow wickets, an emphasis on economical bowling, and the spectacular appeal of fast bowling has led in recent times to the skill of leg spin being neglected. Such neglect is both unwarranted and short-sighted. For years, the leading Australian wicket-taker in test matches was a leg spinner, Richie Benaud. Moreover, there's still no better way of disposing of the lower-order batsman in any grade of cricket than bringing on a wrist spinner. Because the skill of leg spinning involves the quick movement of many parts of the body, the shoulders, the arm, the wrist, and the fingers, through wide angles, it's not an easy one to master. Described simply, a leg spinner is a slow delivery spun with the fingers in a right to left movement of the wrist, and turning after it bounces from leg to off. It can bowl a batsman or make him edge a catch to the wicketkeeper or slip fieldsman. The leg spinner turns the ball a lot, and to do this effectively, you must grip the ball in the most efficient way. Hold it tightly around the seam between the top joints of the first and third fingers of the bowling hand, and so that the ball does not touch the palm of the hand. The thumb supports the ball at the side, whilst the second finger rests lightly on top of the seam. There should be tension between the first and third fingers. In your delivery stride, bowl with the basic closed action, maintaining your side-on position at the crease. Release the ball just as the bowling arm almost brushes the side of your head, turning your bent wrist first inwards towards your head, then outwards, rotating it in an anti-clockwise direction. Flick your third spinning finger towards the slips and follow through with your arm across your body. Remember that your arm swing should be quick and vigorous to give you nip off the wicket. Much of the skill of the leg spinner lies in making a batsman believe that he's going to spin the ball from leg to off, and then, with no obvious change in his action and the movement of his wrist, turn the ball in a different direction. One of these disguised deliveries is a top spinner. The ball looks like a leg spinner, but it doesn't turn. It's spun forwards towards the batsman, rises higher into the air, lands on a shorter length than the batsman expects, and bounces more than he anticipates, so that he might give a catch if he doesn't hit the ball on the half volley or full toss. If the batsman plays for the turn, he may be bowled between bat and pad. To bowl the top spinner, grip the ball exactly as though you were going to send down a leg spinner, with the ball held in the top joints of the first and third fingers, and with the tension between the first and third fingers. Keep the ball out of the palm, and make sure that you can see light beneath the ball and between the fingers. As you did when you bowled the leg spinner, bowl with the basic closed action, with your front shoulder pointed down the wicket and your chest facing the stumps at the bowler's end. The difference between the leg spinner and top spinner occurs in the action of the wrist and fingers at the moment of release. Let go of the ball just before the bowling arm reaches its highest point, turning your wrist downwards, backwards, and then forwards towards the batsman. Flick the third spinning finger forwards over the top of the ball straight towards the batsman, letting go of the ball just a little earlier than normal. The back of your hand should face the batsman as you let go of the ball. The leg spinner's most baffling ball is the wrong un. This is a delivery which looks like a leg spinner because the bowler has a similar wrist action to that which he uses to send down the leg spinner. But the ball turns from the off, not the leg side. The batsman who is misled into thinking that the wrong un is a leg spinner may leave a gap between his bat and his pad and be bowled. If he plays too firmly at the wrong un, which pitches in line with the stumps, he may give a catch to the leg side fieldsman. Once again, there are similarities between the leg spinner and this variation of the wrong un. You hold the ball in the same way, with the first and third fingers exerting most of the pressure on it.
When the ball is released for a wrong un, the back of the hand is facing the batsman in this position.
On this occasion, however, you deliver the ball with a more open action, similar to the one used in bowling the in-swinger. Drop the leading shoulder a little more than normal to the batsman's offside and the delivery stride. Throw the leading arm and leg down the pitch towards the batsman's off stump. As you let go of the ball, rotate your bent wrist inwards, then downwards and outwards towards the batsman's leg side. Flick the third spinning finger hard forwards and towards backward short leg. The ball leaves your hand over the top of the third finger, spinning forwards towards backward short leg. Practice the leg spinner with a friend, set up a pitch of suitable length. Mark a line with witches' hats lengthways down the wicket. The idea now is to bowl a leg spinner so that it lands on the leg side of the witches' hats and turns back over them to the offside.
Batting against the West Indian fast bowling of Michael Holding, Joel Garner and Malcolm Marshall is a terribly difficult thing for a batsman to do. It's horrendous. But at least the batsman only has to do it for part of the time. The man behind the stumps, the wicketkeeper of the West Indies, has to take many more deliveries than batsmen face. And Geoffrey Dujon, that wicketkeeper, is going to talk to us now about some of the aspects of keeping wicket both to fast bowling and slow bowling. Jeff, when you're taking bowlers like Michael Holding and Malcolm Marshall, what is it you watch when you get down behind the stumps?
Well, it's the only thing I think you should concentrate on, and what I concentrate on is the bowler's approach, because from that you can pick up little variances in his approach, maybe how wide he runs, and it will help you to anticipate what type of ball he's going to bowl.
If he bowls close to the stumps, for instance, you would anticipate what?
Well, It all depends. Our bowlers tend to try to mix it up a lot. They'll run close to the stumps and they'll still bowl an in-swinger, where most bowlers would get there and be happy to see the ball just go slightly to slip. And they'll run wide and do the same thing. But having kept wicket to them for such a long time, I tend to pick up little things now which help me to anticipate, and I'm very rarely wrong these days.
Tell me, do you concentrate very much on the hand at the moment of release?
Yes, because depending upon what type of delivery is going to be bowled, the wrist will deliver the ball in a different way, because the fingers will move on either side of the seam.
Many wicketkeepers say they watch the outside edge of the bat to anticipate catches. Do you do that?
No, actually, I watch the ball. I try to follow the line of the ball for as long as I possibly can. And I think that helps, because once you're in line with the ball and you're concentrating on it, it's what you have to catch. So it's best to keep your eye on it for as long as possible.
Well, you've taken a lot of catches off those faster bowlers, largely because you're so mobile, you're so quick over the ground. What's the secret of mobility in a wicketkeeper?
Well, obviously, anticipation helps a lot, but you have to be agile, which means you have to have strong calf muscles. And I do a lot of exercises to strengthen those.
You practice those sort of exercises?
Yes, I do. I do a lot of skipping, especially before a tour. And I play squash every chance I get. And squash, I find, is very, very good for the lower body.
You glove the ball magnificently. You take it so smoothly. What do you advocate the wicketkeeper should do to polish up their taking of the ball?
Well, if you let the ball come to you instead of snatching at it, you'll find that you'll take it a lot more comfortably. And if you ride with it, once it makes impact with your gloves, that also helps.
Standing up to the wicket is pretty difficult. What are the difficulties and how do you overcome them?
Well, my main difficulty with standing up to the wicket is that I very rarely do it. But to slower bowlers, it takes a little bit more concentration. It's a little bit more technical. And the main problems you find are firstly that the ball pitches a lot closer to you. So bounce is very, very important. And you have to stay down a little bit longer and get up with the ball. Whereas to the faster bowlers, you can get up early and get away with it. To the spinners, 9 times out of 10, you'll get into trouble.
And what about taking the ball down the leg side? I've always thought that's one of the most difficult aspects of wicket-keeping.
Well, I found it the most difficult, because there is a point at which you lose sight of the ball. And if the ball is going to pitch close to the batsman, you can only guess at what height it will get to you at, because you haven't seen the trajectory with which it's left the ground. And that's very difficult. It means you have to get across early, try to get your body behind the line of the ball, and do a little bit of guessing about the height sometimes. But once your body is behind it, you'll stop it even if you don't catch it. And the important thing is to save runs.
The wicketkeeper has always seemed to me to be perhaps one of the most important men on the field, not only because he takes more catches and effects more run-outs, etc., than most people, but also because he is, I think, a tactical assistant to the captain. Do you assist your captain?
Yes, I try to in any way I can, because the wicketkeeper is always in line. He's always in line with the play. He can always see what the wicket is doing, if the ball is seaming about. He can also pick up little things about the way a batsman is playing, you know, because you're always in the line, you know, you can pick these things up. A batsman may not possibly be playing the ball that's leaving him very well. And this may not be something that's apparent from mid-wicket or wherever the captain might be. And you can help in ways like this. You can also tell when a bowler is maybe trying, but he's tired. And in little ways like this, you can sort of keep the captain more in touch with what's happening.
Well, Jeffrey Dujon is captain of Jamaica. What he's told us today, quite justifiably so. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Frank. My pleasure.
Oh, lovely catch by the wicketkeeper, Delpat. Oh, good ball from Hafiz.
The wicketkeeper is one of the most important players in cricket. He's certainly the most important fieldsman in the side because he takes more catches and runs out more batsmen than anyone else, as well as stumping them. He saves runs by stopping byes, and by keeping on his toes and looking alert all of the time, he can inspire a side.
He's out.
Because he has to wear protective gear to keep wicket and at the same time be able to move quickly, it's essential that his equipment is comfortable. Wear a cap to protect your eyes from the glare off the wicket. Inner gloves to prevent bruising your hands. Light, well-studded boots so you don't slip. Pads that are not too large or cumbersome. And, most important of all, gloves that have a good cup and let you feel the ball. Once you've checked your gear, take up your stance behind the wickets. Always stand or crouch just outside the line of off stump, whether standing back or up to the wicket. You must be able to see the ball in the hand of the bowler from the moment he begins his run. For the fast bowlers, stand far enough back to catch the ball as it stops rising after it bounces on the pitch and passes the batsman. For the slower bowlers, always keep the wickets within reach so that you can stump a batsman when the chance occurs. And above all, make sure that your stance is comfortable and balanced so that you can move quickly in any direction when the need arises. A good wicketkeeper is said to have a good pair of hands. That is, he seldom if ever fumbles the ball when stopping or catching it. Taking the ball cleanly is the most important skill to be mastered. And in order to take the ball, you must get into a good position behind or just to the side of its line as quickly as possible. So when the ball passes the batsman, drive your legs sideways so that you get into a position to gather it on the side of your body which is closer to the wicket. You must concentrate all of the time. Play as if you are there to take every ball from the bowler. Never take your eyes off the ball. To take the ball cleanly, keep your gloves together, your palms facing outwards, and your arms slightly bent. As you take the ball, rise with the bounce, not before it arrives. Cradle it and let your arms and hands give with it. Now you're standing up to the wicket to a slow spin bowler. The batsman is out of his crease and has missed the ball. Keep calm and make sure of the stumping. Wait for the ball. Let your hands give when you take it, then strike swiftly at the stumps. Part of your job is to gather the ball when the fieldsmen return it from the outfield and, if possible, run out the batsman. When the batsman hits the ball, always anticipate that the return will come to you. Move to the stumps every time to take the return before it bounces, as close to the stumps as possible, so that you can take off the bails if there's a chance of a run out. Always insist that your fieldsmen back up the returns, so that if you're unable to gather the ball, there'll be no overthrows. Remember above all to exert your influence on the game. Tell your fieldsmen what you expect of them. To a large extent, the standard of your team's fielding depends upon your positive attitude behind the stumps. To practice your wicket-keeping skills, ask a friend to bowl to you. Choose a rough part of the outfield and set up the stumps. Stand up to the wicket as your partner bowls 5 slow deliveries, which you must take cleanly and quickly before stumping an imaginary batsman. After 5 slow deliveries, stand back from the wicket and ask your friend to bowl 5 faster balls, which you must take cleanly. To make the task more difficult, you can ask another friend to act as the batsman and play at the ball, but miss it deliberately.
Just moving on now to fielding, you've had a magnificent fielding side at your disposal over the years in the West Indies. They've caught well, they've fielded well. How important is good fielding to success in cricket?
Well, they always tell me that catches win matches, and I can say that, that over the years it has always been true, and I think that if you have fielders or if you have fast bowlers for that matter, I had quite a few in my time as a captain. Most of your catches will either be LBWs or they will either be bowled or caught behind, but the majority of them, 60% of them would probably, or 70% would be caught behind. Maybe the wicketkeeper or the slip fielder. So it's obvious that they've got to be in the toes. So practice is something that is very important where that is concerned. It gives the bowler heart to know that he has some very good people behind catching, because it gives him that little extra to try different things.
Oh, and he's caught by Jeff Crow.
Oh, it could be a mix-up here, a chance for a run out, and yes, Kadir is out, run out. Field from the New Zealanders, and Wasim Akram is out, caught and thrown. The tie in the air, and coming round underneath it, the catch is taken.
So it's heartening to know that you have very good fielders, and I always maintain that fielding should be just as important as a batting practice or a bowling session. So we always did nearly an hour of fielding.
That's a fine shot. Lovely piece of fielding by Coney, and both of them the run-outs.
And once again, he hits it in the air, Cowens is underneath it and takes the catch.
Fielding is the most underrated and under-practiced skill in cricket, yet it's one of the most important. And first of all, we're going to look at how to throw. To throw a ball powerfully and accurately, you must use your entire body. Hold the ball with the first and second fingers across the seam, thumb, third and fourth fingers underneath. The standing throw is made from a position side on to the target. Take your throwing arm straight down, back and up in a wide arc. Step towards the target with your front leg. As you throw, your arm should form a letter L with the elbow at shoulder height. After the ball is released, follow through with your arm towards the target. To make a run out, you must be able to pick up and throw on the move. For this, correct footwork is essential. Sprint into a position behind the line of the ball and gather it in front of your rear foot. The front leg points slightly to the side of the target. Bring your back foot up to your front foot, then push off as you throw, stepping towards the target. The first concern of any fieldsman is to stop the ball and prevent runs. To do this safely and consistently in the shortest possible time, you must move quickly behind the line of the ball. Erect a roadblock by turning side on, kneeling on the knee closest to the ball. Keep your head over the ball and watch it right into your hands. Point your fingers towards the ground and let your hands give with the ball. Quickly stand up and make the return. Close to the wicket catching requires that you try and anticipate the catch before it arrives and then move quickly. To do this, you have to take up a comfortable, balanced stance. Arms extended and slightly bent, hands together, fingers pointing downwards, feet slightly apart, and knees bent. As the catch is hit, move quickly towards its line, eyes fixed on the ball, watching it right into your hands. Don't grab at the ball. Let your hands give. When attempting to catch a ball in the outfield, move quickly into line behind it, keeping your eyes on it all the time. Stretch out your arms to take the catch with the fingers pointing up and over your shoulder. As you take the ball, relax and bend your arms. Try to catch the ball just above eye level and let your hands give to finish resting on your shoulder. Safe catching requires constant practice. You must always be alert. Never take your eyes off the ball. It's important to practice your fielding whenever you have a spare moment. To practice close to the wicket and outfield catching, throw a ball to a group of players, the first row of whom take short catches, and the back row outfield catches. The players must anticipate and call for the catches. This routine can also be used for ground fielding.
Well,
Clive Lloyd is retiring from the test field, but the messages which he's left with us will linger long after his retirement. Thank you, Clive.